called the Obi Divination system, okay? And the Obi Divination system is pretty much used for yes or no answer.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
Obi, as it's called. This is a way for you to communicate with ancestors, with your Orisha deities, your spirit guides.
I'll be doing a Kori reading for the new moon in Pisces. And with this Kori, we're going to be looking into the messages from spirits.
The shells when you're using them, okay? So, what we're going to do here, we're going to pick up the shells and we're going to really marinate with them, with our power, with our energy, with our forces, with inside of our body.
Watatiwa, Eshu, I call Eshu Elegba, Eshu Odara, Eshu Papa Legba, the divine messenger, please come forward and answer any questions that need to be answered at this time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I am Lord, yeah, yeah, yeah. Lord, Lord, come in, Lord, yeah, yeah, yeah. Bendición, what up? Let's talk about it. Obi, Obi, Obi. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am Lord. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, what did he say? Come in, Lord. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that part. That was hilarious. So I know that I cannot break down Obi. Well, first of all, this video, or these videos, I'm gonna have to make multiple videos because this would be way too long. I'm not here to teach anybody how to throw Obi and or how to throw diloggun. You wanna learn how to throw Obi, there's other videos and books on how to throw Obi. What I showed was comical, what exists today of throwing Obi of like to the 13th quadrant of the galaxy and the nebulas, and you're gonna find out what's going on we're in the age of Aquarius and Pisces and whatever else the New Age stuff is going on around here. So I guess if there's any topics on Obi specifically, Obi diloggun, that I should be discussing, let me know in the comments below because there's so many aspects. But I guess, like, I want to stick to Obi. Oddly enough, these people were calling the diloggun shells, the cowrie shells, Obi. Obi and cowrie shells are not the same thing. Obi is divination with the 4 pieces of coconut, and the cowrie shells, aka diloggun, aka merin diloggun, aka kobo, because the shell is kobo, K-O-W-O with a Spanish accent. A lot of people say kobo, and kobo is an orisha that one can receive. You do not have to be crowned to receive kobo. Is the orisha of money. And the cowrie was money back in the many years ago. Okay, that's what the lukumi, that was currency back then. 2 separate forms of divination, and then Ifa is its own thing. They got the equale, they got the ate Ifa, the table with the iki nuts. That's a whole separate thing. I want to talk about Obi, a little bit of the diloggun. So, what Obi is not. I'll start with that. I guess it's easier to talk about what Obi is not and then talk about what Obi is. Why does this thing keep going out, man? Man, I'm not. Nope. Not today, Satan. I like that later. Always have a good cigar for the month, okay? Okay. So, what Obi is not. Obi is not anything that has to do with the cowrie shells. Obi is not just talking to the ancestors. Obi is not having a question and you're in New York and the person's in California and you pay someone to do a reading for you. you don't do readings with Obi. I've seen things like $10 a question or $50 Obi readings. I've seen like $25 Obi readings. Ask 3 questions to a diloggun. That's not how Obi works. Obi is a divination system of yes and no questions. It is in the right hands. Obi is very powerful. It's very accurate. A lot of people say, like, if you really want like things really deep, you go to a diloggun reading. You know, which is true. But in the right hands of someone knowledgeable, Obi can be a very useful tool and insight when it comes to whatever it is going to your life. You know, like what's going on in your life. Aside from asking basic, hey, do you take this offering? You know, aku comedia legua, you know, sí o no, é boa dar. Okay, alafia vamos. So it's a very, very useful tool. It's a necessary tool. It's something. Now I'm gonna go into what Obi is. Obi is speaking specifically to a specific orisha. It's not just throwing 4 pieces of coconuts to the ethers and I'm gonna talk to my ancestors and just throw 4 pieces of the coconut. Oh yeah, and Obi, what is not it? You don't throw Obi on the on a table. Obi is not thrown on a table. The 4 pieces of coconut are not thrown on a table. I know the lady who was saying like, why TT? I don't know, you know, free. You saw it in the video. Why TT? I call upon the powers of Elegba, Papa Legba, and Squirtle. You don't throw Obi on a table. Obi gets thrown on the floor. What else? Sorry, my mind is all over the place, but there's just so many topics and I didn't organize. I just really wanted to get the video out. So Obi is specifically speaking. Obi is thrown to who? Obi is thrown to Egun. Obi is thrown to any Orisha. Obi is not thrown to an Inganga. Those are chamalongos. Those are the shell of the coconut. Or the clam shells, that's palo. So Obi is thrown to Orisha, Egun. I don't want to get into too much detail because it could get too much. But yes, Obi is thrown to specific Orishas. So you cannot throw, quote, you cannot throw Obi if there's no one to throw to. So just saying you're gonna throw 4 pieces of coconut and just throw it on the floor and say, oh, I call upon my ancestors in the 4 quadrants of the universe, so mote it be, and just throw it and ask questions, just to throw questions, you know, ask questions. You're not throwing anything. You're throwing to someone, and I say someone specifically. That someone can be Egun. That someone can be Ochun, whether that's Ochun in your house, whether that's Ochun you go to the river and you give a bowl and they throw Obi right there at the river. But yeah. Number 2. There's a whole controversy whether a person's crown can they, if a person's not crowned, I should say, can they throw Obi? In some houses, if you have your warriors, you can throw Obi. You throw Obi to your warriors. In other houses, unless you're crowned, you don't have licencia to throw Obi. That's a whole nother video. Let's see what else Obi is not. Obi is not taking 4 pieces of coconut, taking 4 pieces of shells, cowrie shells, squirrels, and rubbing them in your hands and saying, I call upon the 4 corners of the earth, Watiti and Squirtle, and putting your energy into it, and I call upon my ancestors, guide me, and then throwing it, and then divining. Same thing with diloggun. You don't take the shells, they are specially prepared. That's a whole other story of how they're prepared. But they are prepared, they're consecrated shells. They're not just shells, they are the mouthpiece to the santo, to the Orisha. And so just take it and put him in your hand and saying, oh, I call upon my ancestors. If the shells are not consecrated shells that belong to anybody, then throwing some Florida water and some cigar smoke and saying you're talking to a legua because you have a little picture of a legua or a little botanica, a little cement head of an legua, don't mean you're talking to a legua. The prayers. A prayer does not sound like what I was saying. I call upon my ancestors, and you take it, or you shake them, and you take the shells, or you take the coconuts, and you say, oh, I call upon my ancestors, and you're putting your energy. Obi is a divination tool. It is one of the mouthpieces to the Orisha. The shells, the diloggun shells, the kobos, they are a mouthpiece to the Orisha. They're not crystals where you just charge with intention and you charge with your energy. And I don't say that in a mocking way, because some muertos, they work with crystals and whatnot. But if we're talking like protocol, ocha, putting your energy into something, doesn't mean you have anything. It just means you put your energy into, a rock, or you put your energy into these shells, put your energy into these coconuts. That may fly in like New Ageism, that flies in crystals and energy healing and intention and brujeria and tension and prayer, which is all powerful stuff. But if you're talking about protocol, taking 4 pieces of coconut, saying I call upon the 4 pieces, the 4 areas of the earth, and I'm gonna throw Obi. That's not how that works. What does a prayer sound like? It don't sound like, it doesn't sound like I call upon Elegba. Maybe if the person doesn't, speak the language, for not everybody's like super versed in Lukumi. Sometimes you're gonna hear, Achea lo domare, achea lofi, achea legua. Sometimes you'll hear like bendición o lofi, bendición legua, bendición. They say ache or iba legua, iba o lofi. But for the most part, if a person's, for lack of a better term, is knowledgeable, it'll be said with what's called a mojuba. Mojuba. That is the prayer that, is it proceeds? No. Whatever is before the actual casting of anything, when it comes to Ocha, be it the Equele or the Ikin or the Olus and the Babalaos, the Ifa, they have their own Mojuba. Before throwing Obi, there's a prayer. Before throwing diloggun, there's a prayer, and that prayer is called the Mojuba. And the Mojuba does not consist of I call upon the stars, and I call upon the ancestors, and you're putting energy in it. It's gonna sound like it's gonna say Mojuba, and then it's gonna go down a long list. Mojuba lofi, Mojuba loro, Mojuba lo domare, loro na la ye, loro na la mi, loro na la bosuda ye, loro na la bosuni fe, loro kokibere, loro na lo yun. Mojuba bobo ego around no lu ya locha baba locha omo kalaba ego belese, loro na domare. You're gonna go down the whole, you're throwing the coconut, the kinkamache, ya tobi, baba tobi, olu, ya locha, kinkamache, bobo kailenu. It's gonna go through the whole lineage, ibaye la yento nu, and then Yabelen Gonzalez, apoto chun like bo, ibaye la yento nu, Susana Cantero. Who else? Famous name, I'm trying to go off of famous. Ibaye la yento nu, Fermina Gomez, Ochabi, madre de la linaje de Oloco. Ibaye la yento nu, Mama Monserrate González Obatero. Ibaye la yento nu, la gran madama Aurora Namara Agayo Batola. De Atare, la rama Atare. It's gonna go over these people, the Ibaye people. And it's gonna go into the Kinkamache, and then if it's throwing Obi, there's gonna be pieces of the coconut taken off. It's gonna go on Kosiku, Kosiyaro, Kosiyo, Kosifitibo, Kusigarege, Kusibobo Wano Sobo Unlo, Funide Owore, Omoire, Omairi, Acheri, Ayera, Alafe, Ariku Babawa. What else? It's just a whole long prayer. And it's not, everything you just heard me say, it's not, I call upon the ancestors. Everybody goes, I call upon the ancestors, I call upon the four corners of the universe. It's not Wicca, okay? You know, Mojuba Koda, Mojuba Seda, Mojuba Lo, Mojuba Ifa, Mojuba Yalocha, Babalocha, Mojuba Baba, Mojuba Yeye, Mojuba Ara, Mojuba Ile. It's a whole Mojuba. So if you're not hearing a Mojuba before the divination, then question the legitimacy of whatever it is that this person's doing. I'm gonna end it on this because I don't want this to be too long. I know this video has been sporadic. That's why I want you guys, the watchers, the viewers, whom I really appreciate. Shout out to everybody who's been with me since day one. Thank you. Doing Obi, people that pay like $25 for 3 questions to do Obi across. Oh, I have questions and I want to speak to Elegua, so I'm gonna pay a Santero I'm gonna have them ask 3 questions for me, and I'm gonna Venmo them $25. Why can that not be? Why can that not be? Why? Because Obi and diloggun. Bueno, I'll just speak on Obi because diloggun and Ifa you don't need to be present. It's preferable, and it gets presented to the person, you know. But I'm gonna stick to Obi. It's preferable to be present for all readings, preferably. But you can espiritismo reading over the phone, Ifa reading over the phone. There's some readings you cannot do over the phone. You cannot get a mano de rola over the phone. Okay, for something as important as doing the bringing out the table of Ifa, you gotta be present. You gotta lower your head to the table of Ifa. You gotta be present for certain things. But a basic Equile reading with Ifa, a basic diloggun reading, it's preferable to be present because it gets presented to you. But it is possible to have a reading like that. Obi, that I think it's I won't say I think because then there's people are gonna be up my ass. Obi gets presented to the person. And because Obi is so specific, because you're speaking to a specific Orisha, it's not just a generalized taking the Elegua shells and just throwing them. It's taking Obi that already had the Mojuba, and then it gets presented to the person. That's why you can't have it's not preferable to have Obi done from you're not even in the room. Why? Because Obi gets presented to you too, so it doesn't make sense to be paying $25. You're not present because you gotta be present. You know, it gotta be presented to you. The 4 pieces of coconut, they do the Mojuba, and then it gets presented to you. And then that's when they go into Obi Legua Kwanya, Obi Legua Kwanya, blah 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 blah. And then there's even more before that. Ile Mokwo, and Obi Mokwo, Elegua Mokwo, and there's a whole. It's like a long process. So it's a lot more than just I call upon the ethers and I call upon what's a famous one everybody loves? I call upon Hecate and you know, God bless them. But if we're talking protocol, calling upon Hecate and the ethers and the 4 corners of the planet. Granted, Mojuba Oro, Mojuba Chupa. I give honor to the sun, I give honor to the moon. So yeah. Let's talk about it. I know I was sporadic. I'm sorry guys, but I really want to get this video off the ground. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot more to talk about. I just have to organize my thoughts and be like, okay, Obi, let's talk about it, the intricacies of it. Not the intricacies, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to show, oh, this is how you throw Obi, and this is how you recite the Mojuba. Nah. But I just, at least if you know what to listen for, so you can hear, okay, I'm gonna pay this person to do Obi Divination. They said that, oh, a person's offering to do me a Obi Divination and charging me 25 or 50 bucks, so I can ask 3 questions to Elegua. Okay, well, right off the bat, that don't make sense because it gets presented to the, oh yeah, Inu, the stomach. Forgot about Inu. Gets presented to the body. Red flag. I'm gonna throw Obi, and they're not taking off the slivers of coconut, and they're just saying, I call upon. If it starts with I call upon, then it's probably questionable. I mean, at least a bendición, or an iba, or an ache lofi, ache lo do mare. But usually it's gonna be a mojuba, and it's gonna be long, and it's gonna be complicated, and usually the person's gonna be talking dumb fast. And it always starts with God. Mojuba lofi, mojuba loro, mojuba lo do mare, mojuba kodam, mojuba seda, mojuba umbara, mojuba boborisha. Those what a mojuba sounds like before doing Obi, before doing any kind of divination within Lukumi. I can't speak on any other tradition. With Palo, there's an Encama, that's a whole nother thing. They have their own prayers before divination. Even in Palo, there's a prayer in divination. It's not just taking 4 pieces of chamalongos, the meatless coconut shell, and just, I call upon Sarabanda because I really like Sarabanda because he's cool, because he's like associated with metal and he's a warrior. I call upon you, Sarabanda, and you take rum and cigar and you blow it in and then just boom. Like, no, is there an Nganga present? Was that Nganga does it have the sombra of the tata? There's a whole lot. So I just don't want people to be taken advantage of. And you can easily be taken advantage of in your ignorance if you don't know these things. If you just think, oh wow, I see a bunch of soperas and he's saying, so mote it be, and he's like calling upon the ancestors in Hecate, and there's no Mojuba. It don't take much to take a book and just learn what's inside of a sopera, and this is how you throw coconut, but then they're half-assing things. So educate yourself. So let me know in the comments what aspects of Obi, that maybe some crazy stories you've heard. People throwing chamalongo. I've seen like on YouTube, I'm gonna throw Obi to a tune, and there was no tune, just a little altar or something with statues, and she's throwing chamalongos and saying, I'm throwing Obi to a tune, and there's nothing there. So the wrong form of divination for what doesn't exist. What else? Oh, so let me know in the comments about Obi, what I should be talking about, interesting things about it, any horror stories you guys got. Also, I want to do a video on there are people getting taken advantage of all over the place, but there are a lot of I noticed a lot in the Mexican community, the people that get taken advantage of, a lot of sancocho, a lot of mixing Santísima Muerte, but a lot of people, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, taking advantage of people in the Mexican community that don't know anything about Ocha. And I know that the Mexican community is it's now getting big there, Ocha. But there's so much, aside from the sancocho, it's a lot of people getting taken advantage of. I know people personally, I'm in a predominantly Dominican area, but there's a lot of Mexicans. I mean, go to 116th Street, go to Spanish Harlem. What used to be Puerto Rican Boricua is, Orale, la Virgen de Guadalupe. Now what's that? Okay? And now Mexicans and South Americans are getting into Ocha and getting crowned for $30,000, and the otanes are being put into plastic bags with no soperas, no ita. You got people getting crowned, not getting their ita. We got people getting crowned, and the otanes are just thrown in bags and said, toma. And then from there, you got to question the whole legitimacy. Okay, so when you were crowned, did they do this? Did they do this? Did they do this? Did they take you to the river? Were you, you know, what was present. Did you have a throne? Did you do this or that? And that just questions the whole legitimacy of the reading. But there's people, I noticed in the Mexican community, the prices are crazy high. Things, a basic, o batala, o chun, yeah, my God, whatever, $30,000. There ain't no santo that costs no $30,000 unless your freaking madrina is freaking J-Lo or some crap, and you're like in a mansion or something, you know? There better be shrimp and lobster being served for those 7 days. So there's just a lot of people, specifically in the Mexican community, that I feel for because they're getting taken advantage of, and then they may be learning things incorrectly, and now you see people that also the mariachis, instead of a tambor and añá, they're throwing mariachis to the santo, and the dances are incorrect, and the songs are being sung in Spanish. It's not correct. Things are just ojo sancocho and Santísima Muerte being mixed into everything. There's beauty in Santísima Muerte. There's beauty in all different cultures. But then there's just a straight up making up ceremonies that just never existed. It was there was like an old lady who got crowned, and they had her walk on coals. If you've seen the video, let me know. It was like part of the ceremony to walk on coals. I don't know. And then you see this lady's like 60 something years old, and she's struggling to walk over these coals. It's like a rite of passage. And so I don't know. So I feel for the people that are getting taken advantage of, my Mexican brothers and sisters. I love all my Mexicans. I love tacos. I love menudo. I love Salinas. You know, anything for Salinas. Shout out to all my Mexican mommies, all my jainas. So I feel for the Mexican community because a lot of you guys are getting taken advantage of. The prices are ridiculous. Being straight up bamboozled and hoodwinked, and it's Cubans and Puerto Ricans that are doing this. You know, so it's horrible. So how do you avoid those things? By educating yourself and knowing if someone says, I'm gonna crown you $30,000, don't do it. Oh, if you don't get crowned, you're gonna die. Don't do it. It's fear-mongering. It's horrible. I know I can go on and on, but let's talk about it. Give me topics below what you want to hear me talk about. Like I said, if you haven't seen my music video for Yamaya, check it out. If you haven't seen my interview with Dade County Tarzan, it's an interview with these two Yawoses, and Shaky the brother is a camera producer, and Dade County Tarzan is a music artist from Miami. Shout out to 305. Dale. So, like always, hit me in the comments below. I do sell books on how to sing the Orisha songs safe from your own house. Okay? So, peace out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lord.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I am Lord, yeah, yeah, yeah. Lord, Lord, come in, Lord, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love the screen, yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I am Lord.